Hello friends and welcome back. I'm Enterprise Architecture. Today we are once again playing Oceanblock 2, but this is going to be a weird little mini episode. I just wanted to show people really quickly how I got my particle accelerator working to make the Nether Stars. This has been a real pain for me. We spent a long time between me and Geek trying to get this worked out in the last couple of episodes, and then I spent another 4 hours trying to sort out all the issues with this. So I figured I'd show everybody exactly how I got it working if you're playing Oceanblock 2, and I think if you're playing FTB Skies 2, it's going to be the same setup. So with no further ado, let's dive right in. So this is the recipe that I've been trying to craft using this pack. I want to make the Nether Stars because I don't think there's another way to get it. I don't know you can get them off of withers in this pack at all. Instead, what you do is you smash an overcharged crystal with a netherite ingot in the particle accelerator. Now, I recommend using the netherite ingot as the one that's the primary ingredient here in the big loops that I'm going to show, and the overcharged crystal as the secondary ingredient. But please note, the most important thing here, this 15,000 joules that you're going to need. Now, the problem I was having is that every single time that we would get to 14,500, the particle would launch out into the middle of nowhere. It no longer could be contained here. So that wasn't working for us. Now, the layout that I've chosen here was the same one that was used in Let's Play with D-Day's tutorial series on Oritech, and that had been working up until that point, up until we hit to that escape velocity of 14,500. Now, you'll note here that I have an additional ring above and beyond what he's got that goes 5 more blocks out, this final ring out here. And my inner ring actually is only used for one loop before everything gets shoved into the outer loop for final acceleration. So what I was finding is when it would get to that 14,500, the corners were too close together. Basically, you have to have longer straightaways when you get up to that speed to be able to actually keep it in the ring. If you don't have longer straightaways, it can't take the corner no matter how long the corners are. So by keeping the corners 9 blocks and just increasing the distance between those corners by 10 blocks, so 5 on each side, everything magically started working and it didn't lose containment. So definitely watch his video for explanation of how all of this works, but the very short version is there's a particle accelerator sensor, and that's going to put off a redstone signal to tell us how fast the particle is going. Once a particle gets up to a certain speed, it can no longer make the turns here for these tight corners, and you need a bigger ring. So every time we get to that critical speed, this then triggers a redstone pulse, and then the direction of this changes and it goes to the next ring. So one corner in each case will then pop out and it'll go to a bigger ring until it gets to a new speed that's even higher. And then that goes to the next ring by having the redstone trigger. So that happens each of these times, and by his measurements, these are the points at which, using the redstone ticks, that we then need to go to a bigger ring because the speed is too big. Now, I found that the last ring here, I needed to add one more ring because it was escaping somewhere over in this vicinity every single time it got up to that speed, 14,500. So I added one more ring that triggers at this point instead. So I've got just this one less redstone here, and then this ring now immediately goes after one loop to this huge ring, as I mentioned, 5 blocks further out. Now, once the particle is in there, it can eventually get up to the full 1500 speed. When it gets to the 1500 speed, this redstone line then triggers instead. It gets to this repeater, and that fires our second particle accelerator. Now, this is where we are putting our secondary ingredient, in that case, the overcharged crystal. Now, since the primary particle is at full speed, that netherite ingot, we do not need to have any speed whatsoever contributed by the second particle. So in this case, the particle accelerator is literally just shoving things into these guide rings, and they are then going right here, and the other one is going so fast that the second this enters into that outer ring, it'll collide and then it will trigger. So one thing to note here is that you have to have these particle accelerator guide rings every other block for the slow particle because they can only jump one hop, but it also needs to be on either side of this last corner because it has to come into the ring and it can't get past this otherwise. The other thing I'll note that's a big difference that I did not realize, it said that the maximum distance that it could go was 10 blocks without having a guide ring. That's not true. Regardless of what it says, you need to have one about every 5 blocks for these accelerator guide rings in between the motors. So that was failing for me over and over again. I don't know why it says that it can handle 10 blocks, but that's what's going on. If you see an error that says no gate in range coming off of your main particle accelerator there when you click on it, that's what happened. It basically escaped the ring because you need one every 5 blocks or so. So that's what I've done here. Every 5 or 6 blocks, I've added a particle accelerator guide ring in between, and that keeps things on track, and then we have no particles escaping. So to check and see what errors have happened and why your ring is not working, right-click on the primary particle accelerator, and in here, it'll tell you a couple of things. One, it'll give you an error, again, like no gate in range. It'll also tell you where the particle actually escaped from. It'll give you the coordinates of that escape path. I had been mistaken previously thinking that these red lines here were where it escaped. That's not the case. This just indicates that this redstone pulse is going to cause it to then turn when you actually trigger it. So you can see this one here, click it, that's just showing the alternate path from redstone. Also note that you can always click on the accelerator to be able to see exactly what the speed of the particle it's launched is at, in addition to the gate distance and the curve distance. Again, this is where the gate distance was not telling me the accurate facts, but you can see here the speed is increasing and you can just keep an eye on it as you go. And of course, the speed directly relates to the redstone level that you're gonna get out of this. So at 1500 meters per second, you're gonna get a redstone level of 15, but that's all working now, and I do have 2 nether stars as a result. I need to make 6 more so that I can then make these into seeds, and then we never have to worry about nether stars again because we can use mystical ag to get the rest of the nether stars. The only other thing I'll reiterate here is that this thing consumes power like nobody's business. You're going to want to use some sort of an upper tier cable, and you should definitely have that nuclear reactor going and a whole bunch of energy saved up in your power cells so that this thing can just keep going and going. A trickle of power will still accelerate the particle. It doesn't need to be at full tilt the whole time. Just a little bit will be enough to keep it speeding up and speeding up and speeding up. But if you don't want to wait hours to actually get that first nether star, that's how you do it. So, as I said, quick little video, just wanted to show you all of the things that I figured out while I was going through this process and how I solved that problem. Again, that extra ring that's just 5 blocks wider in each direction will make it go, and you won't have any of the problems of the particle escaping when you get to that 14,500 mark. Like I said, I just wanted to do a quick little video that explained all the issues here. For now, thanks again for watching, everybody, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends!